Hello and welcome to Beauty and the Biz, where we talk about the business and marketing side of plastic surgery. I'm your host, Catherine Maley, author of Your Aesthetic Practice, What Your Patients Are Saying, as well as consultant to plastic surgeons to get them more patients and more profits. And today's special guest is very special because I've known him for a very long time and he's very hard to track down. So it is Dr. Joe Niamtu. Now, he's an internationally known cosmetic facial surgeon, teacher, and author in private practice in Virginia for a very long time. I think it's 1984. Now, he has lectured and teaches all over the world. He has written hundreds of publications, 4 textbooks, and even 30 chapters to other textbooks. Now, he's very active in the AACS, and that's where I met him, and he's pretty much an icon in that organization. And he's appeared regularly in magazines, newsprint, and TV. Now, Dr. Niamtu is also very committed to numerous charitable organizations to help third world children with facial deformities, as well as women dealing with domestic abuse. So, Dr. Niamtu, welcome so much to Beauty and the Biz. It is a pleasure to have you.
Good to see you, Kath. I 7 textbooks, by the way. Okay.
Of course.
So I think you've got an old bio. But
you overachiever. You have to be the hardest working surgeon I think I know. Unbelievable.
I'm the hardest working surgeon I know. But you're the hardest working person in what you do as well.
Right?
You're everywhere, and everybody knows you. Actually, you're like Cher or Bono or Sting. You just say Catherine. People know who you're talking about.
Well, and that's why we're talking, because it takes marketing and business to be good at surgery. And so I'm here to help you surgeons get good at the business and the marketing side, so you can do your surgery. But I'm going to help you with the other side because they're all important. So can you go ahead and describe your practice? You're in private practice in Virginia. It's super competitive, but why don't you just describe your practice and how you're set up and who's in the practice?
I've been doing cosmetic surgery for about 21 years. I practiced longer than that. My background, my residency is in oral and maxillofacial surgery. And I always had an interest in trauma and facial reconstruction. And during the 1990s, mid-1990s, a lot of things happened. Botox, fillers, liposuction, laser, endoscopic technique. And there were so many things new happening in cosmetic surgery that, people have been in practice forever didn't have that training. And so I started getting involved, and I really liked it, and felt I was good at it. And in 2004, I limited my practice to cosmetic facial surgery. And so it's been a good run here. And I feel like I'm at the top of my game right now. And I don't say that arrogantly. I mean, anybody who knows me knows that I'm not arrogant. It's just when you do something long enough and you work hard enough and you're passionate enough, it kind of all comes together. So I'm at that place where I can work. I work 4 days a week. That works well because by Sunday night, I'm excited to go to work Monday and get my fingers wet. Okay, so I'll do this as long as I have that feeling. And again, I have a mature practice, and believe me, I went through all the bumps and lumps and hard knocks that people do, and I'm at a place now where I can, like I said, I can kind of work the days that I want. I can see the type of patient I want. I can not see the type of patient I don't want. I can charge what I want. And I think when young practitioners first go into practice, hopefully they have a vision. I mean, if you go up to any doctor who's just starting, and if you say to them or their staff, what's your vision in 2020? If they can't answer that, then they're not going anywhere, because it's like a roadmap. If you went and ran a marathon, you have to know where the finish line is. And if you don't have a vision, then you have random chaos. And that's what takes down so many practitioners. And, football teams go out there and the quarterback calls a play and everybody knows what to do. So that's kind of like a mini vision. Their vision is winning the Super Bowl. So, my vision was to have a full-time cosmetic facial surgery practice and do the things that I really like and see the kind of patients that I like. And back to what I was rambling on. So if you ask somebody their first day of practice, where would you like to be in, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I'm at that place. And again, I know that sounds arrogant, but it's been a hard journey that I've been passionate about. And it's a good feeling. The problem is, by the time you get to that place, a lot of people, they want to retire. But I want to do this as long as I can. I really love it.
That's the holy grail, to do what you want, when you want to do it, charge what you want, and work with patients that you really want to work with. That is the whole point. So can you just give us a few pearls? I know it took you 20 years to get there, but let's just start with this. When you're not at work, are you the only revenue generator, or are you set up to make money when you're not there?
Yeah. So for the last 4 years, I have trained my nurses to inject. Prior to that, I was the sole revenue generator. And, I still am surgically. I mean, injections, injectables, they're a good part of our practice, but my practice is 90% surgical. And I always say, if my fingers aren't bloody, I'm not producing revenue.
That's great.
And that's true.
Did you ever think about adding associates or somebody to help take some of the slack off the surgical side?
Yes, I have. And a lot of my friends have fellows and residents in that sort of situation. And you have to let them operate. Okay. Otherwise, they're not going to get experience. And, one of the first things that my patient asks me is, who's doing the surgery? And also, I'm kind of a lone wolf. I've got a lot of journal articles and publications, which I usually do by myself. We have a large practice on the oral and maxillofacial surgery side. They only do oral and maxillofacial surgery. I'm in a separate location. I only do cosmetic facial surgery. And I've kind of trained a couple of those guys possibly to do this. But, it's really hard to find somebody that has the fire. And there's a lot of people that want to be cosmetic surgeons or whatever. Or nurse injectors or assistants, whatever you want to call it, but you've got to have the passion. And so, yes, I'm the only revenue generator in my practice. I have a couple other little side business hobbies. I teach courses at my office. I have a online video series for physicians, but that's kind of hobby money. Any serious income comes from me with doing surgery Monday through Thursday.
Okay, so can you give us a couple tips on how you got there? How did you get to the point where you can charge what you want, see who you want, and work when you want?
Yeah, you have to be unconditionally committed. And many people see somebody that's successful in anything. Same thing, what you do. And, they think that the person just woke up one day and that was handed to them.
Right.
They have no idea. So number one, you have to be passionate about what you do. And that means that you're, as I said, going to be unconditionally committed. And that means you're going to be committed to do things, whatever it takes, to get your practice to where it needs to be. And you're going, that may have included working Saturdays when I started. It certainly included and still includes coming home from work and doing my own social media. It includes treating patients better than anybody else. I mean, every patient has always had my cell phone. I am so sensitive about how patients feel about me and what their experience is in our practice. And, the road to getting here starts, one brick at a time. And you have to be, what do they say? Available. That's number one. You have to be affable. You got to be a likable person. You got to be able to relate to your patients. And you have to be able. You have to have ability. In other words, you have to be good at what you do. And all of that just comes by, largely a trial and error process. It's a very competitive industry. And, there's a lot of competing specialists that I think eat their children, eat their own, whatever we say, And it's unfortunate because there's plenty to go around for everybody. And that's always been something. When I see a doctor that talks bad about somebody, that's just their own insecurities. So one thing that I've done is ignored the haters, because I don't care who you are. I just saw a little thing the other day about Lady Gaga. So the Beatles, everybody, have haters. The better you do, the more jealous people get. So you ignore them, you put your head down, you decide what your vision is, and you don't let anything come between that. But it takes incredible work and incredible availability. And, every year you could do better and better. And, I mean, there's hard knocks too. You maybe at first don't understand what may constitute a bad patient or somebody that's going to be a problem. And, you learn how to see red flag. You've heard me lecture about that, and I've heard you lecture about that. So I think it's
give a
like
couple
anything.
tips on that, because your talk on that is really good. You want to just give a couple of tips on how do you handle an unhappy patient? And your issue is kind of, I think, bigger because you're doing facial surgery. Body surgery, it's important, of course, but it's easier to hide. Facial
Yeah, no doubt about it. You can do
themselves.
Yeah, you can do mediocre boob, belly, and butt surgery and hide it, but the face, there's nowhere to run. You have to do well, and I mean, I don't. There are surgeons there that say they don't have complications or all this stuff. Again, you talk to humble, down to earth, successful people, and they're going to tell you, yeah, of course, you have a problem with patients or situations that need revisions, but handling the unhappy patient, and for some reason, this has become one of my more popular lectures. First of all, you have to identify. Cosmetic surgery is elective. Nobody needs it. Nobody's going to die without cosmetic surgery. And so when you see people that send you, and so much has changed just in the years that I've practiced with the ability to, internet, FaceTime, Zoom, everything. But when a patient contacts you and they're overly concerned about some insignificant thing, they have a couple little crow's feet wrinkles and they tell you they can't go out of the house. Something like that is a really, really big red flag. Young patients that want older patient surgery, okay, is frequently a red flag as well. Patients that don't smile and aren't friendly, okay, they're just some people that, they're just kind of mean, and that's their hobby. And if you talk to their kids' teachers or their neighbors, they're going to say, yeah, they're a difficult person. Patients that won't listen, won't let you talk, they interrupt. Patients that tell you what surgery they want, right? Because they're on the internet. I want a high mastectomy, deep plane, whatever. Patients that really think they're important, they're actors, or they don't want you to take pictures of them, or they try and bypass your normal protocol. Patients that aren't reliable or dependable, they're late. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And having the ability to recognize that is paramount. And I like that lecture because I can tell younger doctors, what I learned the hard way, and other people told me, because you need, I don't care what you do, you need a mentor. All right. And that's why, I mean, I've lectured on 6 continents. I lecture all over the place and I enjoy it. But my favorite lectures are talking to young people that are just getting into this, because they're like a sponge. They're very impressionable, and you can tell them. It's almost like if I drive down the street and I have a pretty I like cars. So I've got a pretty fancy car. And
what kind of car do you have?
Well, I currently have a McLaren, and if I hit a big pothole and break ruin my rim, that's terrible. But so I got the knock there. But if I can tell other people, hey, don't go down that street because there's a big pothole. It's the same analogy. So you want to find happy, fulfilled patients that are doing the right procedure for the right reason and have stability in their life. Patients that come in and they can't afford it. And listen, believe me, I grew up with 6 people in an 800 square foot house. I didn't have the things that I do now, and I worked very hard for them. The whole family did. My grandparents came here and couldn't speak English. They immigrated from Romania on one side and Italy on the other side, and I have that immigrant work ethic. All right, that's one of the topics for your previous question. But in any event, patients that can't afford it, their health history doesn't allow it. Gosh, we could talk all day just about red flags when something is off. Something just doesn't seem right. Another thing is, don't operate on somebody you don't like. And we're all human. There's sometimes you have patients that there's just such a handful, it, they're unpleasant. So you want to just find.
Is your staff helpful as well? Do you
Oh
listen
yeah,
to them?
oh yeah. And listen, I learned the hard way to listen to them. There were significant times where they say, "Hey, I wouldn't touch that patient if I were you," and I'm like, "Ah, they'll be okay. They'll be okay." So yeah, uh, and again, back to the roadmap of success. Having the right staff, which is when we get into the business side of this, that's one of the biggest challenges, but it's also one of the biggest rewards. So, like, I have patients that are mean to the front desk,
Right.
but they're nice to me.
Nice to you.
Okay, that's one red flag. You call the office, you talk to the receptionist, then you come in for an appointment, and you interact with that nursing staff, and then you interact with the coordinators and schedulers. And if two of those people flag that patient, I'm not going to operate.
Oh, good for you.
And
women can stop other women's bad behavior quicker than you can, probably. So I would definitely.
Well, cosmetic, at least my practice is 85% female, and my staff is 100% female. And so, yeah, they're probably more attuned to that. Sure.
But regarding staff, just currently, right now, I don't know what's going on in the world, but I used to be a killer HR kind of part-timer. I could find you a coordinator like no one's business, or a receptionist, because I love to find them and then train them for you so you have a professionally trained person representing you. This past year has been ridiculous. Have you found that you can't find people, or they're leaving, or they're unreliable, or any of that happening over there in Virginia?
When we look back in whatever 5 years, 10 years, 100 years about this virus that went through the world, it changed everything physically and mentally. A lot of people didn't work because they got paid for not working. All right.
You've seen that on resumes, and that's going to come back to haunt them, because there's a really big black hole there for 2 years, 2 or 3 years. And you say, "So what have you been up to?" "Oh, I was taking care of my mother." All of a sudden, I was a sick mother.
Right. And the hospitals sucked all the nursing up, and a lot of healthcare workers, and they were needed so badly. And some of them, have like locum tenens where they could go work in Texas or whatever for incredible wages. So we'll probably get to it later, but I have two severely disabled children with cerebral palsy, and each son, I have two sons, each one has around the clock nursing, and the home health is, it's dissipated. I mean, it's just, we can't, it's really hard to find nurses. And so my wife is having to do all these nursing shifts without, she's not a nurse, but, but without notice. I mean, she may work 24 hours in a row. The next day, somebody calls off at the last minute. So that's been very difficult. The restaurant that I'm going to this evening, they just reopened. They didn't have people to work. It's a crazy situation. And I've heard a lot of people talk about, why it is. Some people just decided they could work virtually. Other people decided this is a good time to find another career. But there's that missing gap that you just talked about. I don't know where the hell they are. Because there were people that had jobs before. So hopefully they're coming back into the situation.
By the way, did you hear about that app? And I'm not here to promote anything, but there's an app that you can find a nurse quickly. It's kind of like Uber for nursing and surgical staff.
I don't think I have, but again, you got to find the right person. And medical practices, doctors have a very unpredictable employee group, because it's largely young females that are available, and they want to do really unpredictable things like get married and have babies, right? And or they get engaged and move or something. So it is there's a little instability with that group, and finding the right people and keeping it is huge. But to underline what you just said, yeah, it's really tough for any business to find employees right now.
So would you say staffing is probably one of the biggest challenges to running a solo practice?
When I lecture to residents and that, And you used to have a blackboard or a whiteboard or a flip chart. And I'd say, okay, what are the biggest problems that are going to face you as a practitioner, right? All right. And this is regardless of what they did. And it was like insurance, lawsuits, income, bad debt. I said, no, you're wrong. The biggest challenge you're going to face is staffing. Finding and developing the right staff, keeping them, and hiring and firing, which you know nothing about. So, staffing is a huge challenge.
Any pearls? Any pearls to help with that?
A lot of pearls. When I started out, I had two people, one surgical assistant and one front desk person. And the other part of my practice, which I started the whole thing, we have 100 employees. So we have a CFO, we have 7 offices. So we have a manager at each office. But again, I'm in a different building. I have 9 staff. And all right. So my first pearl is probably you need to find somebody to be a good manager. If you have enough people that you do that, because doctors are not good at dealing with staff issues because they're emotionally involved. And it's like fish can't see water because they're in it. And doctors want to be good guys or good girls. And they just don't have the business acumen. And, this is a real litigious area, as you know. I mean, you can get Me Too real easy and not just, Me Too in a sexual manner, but just so many things where, doctors or any successful people are construed as a deep pocket. And, somebody can see that as a lottery ticket. So, wrongful discharge, so many things that you can fall into a trap. So as soon as you can afford to find somebody that's good at that has some HR background, then you let them be that buffer. If you want to talk now or later about hiring and firing.
No, we should do it now because one thing I've learned, I did a talk recently on the good to great, like what makes a great practice versus a good one. And 10 out of 10, they had a right-hand person who handled that part of the business. They handled all the HR stuff. They stayed the good guy. The manager got to handle all the crap and the stuff that just bogs you down and you don't.
You're right.
It's not where you need to be.
I did it all at first. And now I'm not involved in hiring. I'm not involved in firing. I mean, when we hire somebody, I get to meet them.
Right.
But all right, let's talk about hiring. All right. So what do you want to look for? Well, it's just kind of like the patients we were talking about. You want to look for somebody that's joyous, unconditionally committed, and not just committed to you, but committed to the success of your practice.
Yep.
So if you come in and you're in a bad mood and being an Eeyore, they were committed to you, they'd say, yeah, that's right, it is terrible. If they're committed to the practice, they're going to bring you up. They're going to say, God, you got to smile. You're going to walk in these rooms and these people are going to read that negativity. They have to be presentable. They have to be willing to learn. I keep going back to joyous, fulfilled and smiling. And obviously, you can't hire everybody who has the Barbie doll life, but, a lot of people in that age group that we talked about, they're maybe financially strapped. They may be going through a divorce, maybe single mom. There's a lot of things that play into it. So stability, is really important. Hiring somebody that's close to your office is important. I've had people at work an hour and a half away, and if you had a hematoma or something, they couldn't come in there.
That's literally the first question I ask. Let's talk about your commute. How many miles are you from the office? Oh, no problem. I'm an hour away, but no problem. It's a problem. Right. I want them close. I want them easy, convenient. And the word I look for is I want them to have that likability factor. You know how you meet some people, they're not Barbie dolls, they're not gorgeous, but you just love them. They have such a great aura about them. That kind of an employee will just, bring sunshine instead of a cloud.
They will. And I'll tell you, I have an employee that's been with me on and off for about 30 years. And she's currently on. She's kind of a free spirit. She'll move to Florida and then move back. So she never is off because of a negative reason. But and she's, 60. It's a great mix if you have some young employees because they're so impressionable and they're so excited, and they're, in terms of nurses, they're very contemporary. And then to have some older employees, and this is an old guy saying this, right? Because they have wisdom. The flavor of your practice can make a difference. So I have friends that they have injectable practices, and they treat the Kardashians, just young people that want fillers and Botox and are on TikTok and Instagram. And I have a facelift practice.
Yeah.
Most of my patients are older, so to have that mix of age group is important, and diversity is important too. That's just I think a big thing in hiring and firing, and it always has been to me.
Although when you have a facial plastic surgery practice, I would skew to the more mature staff. Being of a mature nature myself, it is difficult to have a coordinator who's 25 years old and I'm talking to her about my emotional needs of wanting to look better. It's more difficult to connect. So I like that you have a variety there.
Yeah, and that person, it's great to line up your staff members with age appropriate patients.
For sure.
I think that helps. But I'll tell you, sometimes the younger people hit off really well with older patients, and vice versa. Again, it's just hard to get people in general, younger or older, and the younger patients. Again, they have children at home, and they call off more. There's just more from an employer standpoint.
You know what element I think is missing in a lot of practices that I think we need to introduce, and that is, and I know I hate to use the word fun, but whatever you want to call it, especially after COVID, most practices got super busy and it became very intense, and the environment has been more like a pressure cooker than it used to be. And now we know that's not going to last forever, but while it's going on, a lot of staff is not used to working under pressure like that. So do you take the time, or have you figured out how to get everyone to exhale and work together, but then play together or celebrate together? Is there anything you're doing to keep them motivated so they don't leave?
Yeah. So I've always said you learn from your losses and you celebrate your victories, and you have to take care of people. Sometimes financially with bonuses. We bonused our staff during COVID, the people that stayed and worked. We have employee appreciation things that we do, staff building events where we all participate. It may be going to a pistol range, or racing go-karts, or going to an amusement park at Christmas. So we try and do that quarterly. You got to be careful also. We will get to the firing part of this. You want to be friendly with your staff. You don't want to be best friends with your staff. And, these are your work wives, and you spend more time with them than you do at home. And, you can have fun, and we usually have fun, but, what I do is serious. And we also sometimes do our own anesthesia. I'm licensed in that in the state of Virginia. So, surgery and anesthesia is a life and death situation. Mm-hmm. So you got to have fun, you got to be serious. But at the end of there's going to be days when I'm short. There's going to be days when they're short. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, or at the end of the week, everybody should be smiling. And I think that's what usually happens.
Good. Just give me, after all the years you've been at this, and if the younger people are listening, give me a mistake that you could help them avert.
Right. Well, getting too friendly with your staff. I used to have parties at my house for my staff, and then somebody gets drunk or something, and then they're fighting with somebody else. Again, you want to be friends. You don't want to be best friends. We'll start on the thing of firing here. Okay. So the first person I fired, I sent flowers to. I felt so bad. Okay.
That was nice of you.
Well, yeah, but it's not how you do that. Okay. Second person that I let go came back and said that I pushed him against a file cabinet or something else, which never went anywhere. And coincidentally, her aunt, I had 3 people in the same family working for me. Big mistake. Nepotism. Listen, the ancient Romans knew, don't steal, from your office. Don't have 2 sets of books. Don't hire relatives. Don't hire somebody you can't fire. Don't hire a chief to do an Indian's job. Okay. So those are all mistakes that I and probably everybody has made along the way. So I talked about hiring, what to look for. Let's talk a little bit about firing. So first of all, that's not something that a doctor should do. A doctor hiring and firing is like driving without a seatbelt in a way, because you might not get hurt, but if you do, it can be really bad. And in today's climate, business climate, you're just open to too many things. And so firing someone is a hard job for doctors and probably many people. So in my practice, somebody needs to be a 9 or a 10, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, and they're not going to work out. And I've let go people that were a 6, but they may have been a 10 in Joe Average's practice, okay? My practice, I'm striving for excellence, and I demand a lot from my employees, but no less than I demand from myself. And so you have these people that are starting out. A lot of times it's their first job, but it's just not working, okay? And you have to fire them. And it's very hard because you're emotionally involved. Whereas a human resource person, they go to work, they hire somebody, they fire somebody. And I would tell this to an HR person too, if I was lecturing. So when you let somebody go, first of all, that's going to be a tough thing for them as well. I mean, I got fired from one of my first jobs as a car hop at a root beer stand. All right. It crushed me because all my buddies worked there and all the girls from high school would come in. But I was fired. Basically because I was missing time for football practice. But in any event, nobody wants to be fired. It's demeaning. And so you've got to control it with dignity, okay? And you've got to be careful. You're going to hear me talk so much about vision. And I learned so much of this. There was a company, I don't know if they're still in business, but it was called Kendrick Mercer, then it was called Mercer. And I learned some of the best practice men. They were in Santa Barbara, California. And I learned some of the best, so many of the things that I talk about, some of these pearls I learned early on. But so you got to let somebody go with dignity because it's not fun for them. It's not fun for you. And what I do, you're going to hear me so many times, again, use the word vision. I tell them that, look, I think you're a tremendous person and I think you have a lot of talent, but you are not going in the same direction I am towards my vision. Okay. And nobody can argue with that, Catherine. If I tell somebody, well, I'm firing you because you were late 10 times, they could say, well, Sally was late. You didn't fire Sally, but if I just tell somebody that we're not going in the same direction, they can't argue. When I was doing it, or I think it's a good idea, you do it on a Friday afternoon. Right. You don't give somebody 2 weeks notice because you're giving somebody 2 weeks to sabotage you or get your charge or whatever. And people do that, Friday afternoon, 5 o'clock, come into my office. Listen, I'm sorry, this isn't working out. I think you're a wonderful person. You're not following my vision. I need the credit cards. I need the keys. Okay. Well, another problem is letters of recommendation. I wrote a letter of recommendation for a patient that I let go. And I got a letter from attorney saying that, well, if she was so good like your letter, why'd you fire her? And, again, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Okay. So, and none of these suits have ever gone to fruition. All right. They weren't even suits. They were somebody trying to really kind of extort you, and they just, went away because they were frivolous, but we learn a lesson from them. So in our practice, if somebody asks for a letter of recommendation, unless it's somebody that was really, really good and they moved or something like that, then I would give them an extremely flowery letter of recommendation. But otherwise, we just say, especially for somebody we fired, 100%, say they worked here from this day to this day. That's what we say. And if somebody was calling me and I thought that they were getting a malignant person, I would say, I'd love to give you a recommendation, but my attorney is giving me advice not to comment on this patient. That pretty much tells the story.
So would you say staffing is your biggest mistakes made, or are there any other, like another big mistake is, I wish I had bought the building I worked in for 20 years, instead of renting it. Do you have one of those mistakes?
Well, yeah. So let's put it this way. Staffing's in the
it's
top
up there.
3. Okay. And it's, this stuff is like like a scale. So when you first go into practice, staffing is a, is a big problem.
Mhm.
And then as you get experience, it's less of a problem, and something else is a problem, whether it's patients, bad debt. Um, I have bought the buildings, and all my partners, again, in the global practice, we own all our buildings. And that's a great move,
Nice.
because that will provide retirement money
Yep.
after you retire. And it's crazy to pay rent, or I wouldn't have bought my house.
Yep.
So at least in the current environment, I think that still stands. Listen, I've made mistakes in handling patients. They were unhappy, and I got mad at them. Not so much that I got mad at them, I didn't listen to them enough. And I was so serious about trying to do well. If they were mad, it hurt my feelings. Or even if they were totally off base, I ended up arguing with them. And that's the worst thing that you can do. Okay. And Jonathan Sykes, who I'm sure you know,
Of course.
John did in my new textbook, Cosmetic Facial Surgery, 3rd edition. It's going to be released by Elsevier in May here.
Nice.
Month. And that's remained one of the largest medical selling books on Amazon. So I'm proud of that. But I've got some really good contributing authors. And John Sykes is really good at that. He has a great chapter in my book about reflective listening. About, a patient will say, I'm unhappy because I have extra skin after my facelift. Then boom, doctors, well, no, you don't. You have this, or okay, we can fix it tomorrow. And they cut the patient off. They're not listening. All right. And sometimes unhappy patients, they just want to vent.
80% of the time, they just want to complain.
Yeah. And that's okay. And it's human nature. And I'm so sensitive about my brand and my reputation that I get, emotionally involved, and they can sense that. And when in fact, you've got to sit there. And one of the things that John says, and I made some great pictures on this in my book. When you're seeing a new patient and you're in the selling mode, and that
right.
If a non-medical person looked at this, they'd say, oh my God, they're talking about profit in that. This is medicine. Well, profit's not a 4-letter word, loss is. And any successful doctor has to have a profitable practice. So when you're in that introductory mode, you need to be big in the room. You need to be up there and, hi, I'm Dr. Niamtu, and I've done 1,500 facelifts, and I've been, not overbearing and not arrogant, but
bring it, presence.
Selling your brand.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a problem patient, you have to be small in the room. You got to be tiny and shriveled up and listen to them, and not be arrogant, or not arrogant, but not be in that big brand mode. So listening to the patient. And one of the things that really I learned from one of my managers, she would always go in, and there's a patient, she would listen. Mm-hmm. And then she'd say, what can I do to make you happy? And that's what I do. Some people just want an apology. Mm-hmm. I'm really sorry you're feeling that way, or I'm sorry that we have to redo this. I know it's a hassle, but it's surgery. It's not an exact science. There's Mother Nature. They want a little bit of a piece of you, of your time, face to face, and just hear you say that. Mm-hmm. Other people, they're scared. They want to know what's going to happen. Okay, you did this facelift. I've still got some fat here. Okay, so well, listen, I'm going to take care of that for you. Okay, and they want to know what's going to cost them. Okay, and these are things that have been discussed preoperatively in a mature practice. So they just want a solution. Okay, and then there's that very small group of people that you're never going to see. All right, and once every 2 years, I'll refund a patient. And knock on wood, I've never had a catastrophic anesthetic or surgical situation. But when you do, I've done 6,000 eyelids, I've done 1,500 facelifts, I've done 15, 20,000 cosmetic procedures. You're going to have things that you need to correct, or things that didn't go the way you wanted to. And if you can't satisfy a patient, or if you want that patient out of your office, out of your life, and sometimes you have to cry uncle, I'll gladly refund them. And they have to
sign something.
Oh yeah. Don't anybody listening, don't ever refund any money without having even a happy patient that you think, sign a waiver saying that they hold you harmless. They won't
disparage you online, anywhere.
Right. And, does that stuff, is it ironclad, waterproof in court? Probably not, but I've never had anybody. Now, I've had some people say, well, I'm not signing that. I said, okay, well, I'm sorry, we can't refund your money. And then they, now one of my friends, he'd issued the refund check, and on the back, it had the release.
Oh, that's
so they signed the check, they signed the release. Okay. And, I've had some patients that I've refunded just because it wasn't, they didn't want me to operate on them again. And it wasn't fair. I didn't get the results I wanted. I didn't want to keep their money.
Right.
But usually, honestly, it's just, an unhappy patient that you probably can't make them happy. And it's just better that they move on and you move on.
And you don't need a 2-year drawn out in courts. And oh my gosh, the energy that would take, I would say just make that go away if you can, as quickly as you can.
I have only been sued one time in my career.
Good for you.
Okay. And it was before I was doing cosmetic surgery.
Oh.
And we were victorious. But I'll tell you something. Every doctor should get sued once. Okay. Because, some doctors, they're like, well, whatever. The patient had a complication. The patient posted a negative review. And they're going to sue the doctor. I said, well, I didn't do anything wrong. I am not refunding their eyelid surgery. I'm not doing that. And about the 5th day of depositions, when you're out of your practice and some lawyer is telling you how bad you are, you're like, oh my God, that, it was $5,000. I could have given them back.
And so,
gosh, there's so much to talk about in terms of that kind of stuff.
Well, can we switch to a more fun topic, and that would be marketing?
Yeah.
It's easier.
One of my favorite things and one of the things that I'm best at.
You're really good at marketing. So I remember before you used to be everywhere. You are in every marketing channel. So how do you do it now? How do you market in today's world? And I love that you specialize, because what I normally would say is, well, how are you differentiating in such a competitive environment? And I love that you're doing faces, because you're known as the face guy, and it's super helpful, don't you think?
Well, I think it is. Sure. I mean, whatever your specialty is, but marketing is broader than that. First of all, I've always been I'm not a good dancer. I'm not a good singer, but I can market. Okay. Why can I market? Because I am excited about what I do. I love it. I love to tell people what I do. And I don't do things that I'm not good at or things that I don't like. I don't do those. Okay. Not because I'm not good at it. I just don't do them. I don't like rhinoplasty, I don't do hair transplants, obviously, right? There's things I don't do because whatever. I just don't, but the things that I do, I'm good at, and I like them, and I want people to know that. And I'm proud of what I do. If I owned a hot dog stand, I want everybody to know how damn good these hot dogs are. Yeah. And, if they tell their neighbor about it, they'll get one free, blah, blah, blah. So marketing for me was always very simple. It was, making your brand is simply telling people what you do. I ask people, I go to meetings, say, hey, give me one of your cards. I don't have any, or I don't have, oh, you loser, I'm going to beat you every time. And
by the way, I love your business card. You're not kidding. It literally has your cell phone on that card. And I remember thinking, that can't really be his cell phone. And then I text you, and it was.
And you know what? I probably 2 times in my life, if I had an inappropriate call, and,
right. It's so counterintuitive.
It.
You think everyone's going to bother you, and they don't. They're just so surprised that you offer that. It's fantastic.
Right. They respect that. So marketing is free. Every patient that walks in your office is a marketing opportunity. And is it going to be a good marketing opportunity or a bad marketing opportunity? Is your staff courteous? Are they well dressed? Is your office clean? Does it smell like smoke? Does it smell like pus? Do you have, nobody has magazines in the room anymore, but are they outdated? I mean, I could name all this stuff. That's negative marketing. Right. Positive marketing, all the things we talked about: friendly, joyous staff, clean, sterilized environment, friendly doctor, available doctor. One time the UPS person came in and they said, you know what? When I come in here, I hate to leave because it's so nice in here. I like it. Everybody's so nice to me. And then I have to go to other places where people are mean. Yeah. So, marketing is not just, you don't just market your practice, it's 24/7. And when you go out to eat, when you do anything, you should be marketing your practice. Logos, uniformity, you can't see it here, but I mean, we have consistent logos on everything, and my staff markets too. So before the internet, you had print marketing, you had yellow pages, you had television, radio, things like that. Well, the internet changed everything. It's so funny because the people watching this, I used to feel bad for my parents because they didn't have TV. The technology, the radio. Oh my God, feel so bad for them. And of course, now somebody, you didn't have the internet. Oh my God, how did you live?
Right.
But so social media has changed everything. Okay. And, obviously having a website is like the old yellow pages. If you don't have a good website, then you're not representing yourself. But, oh goodness, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, blah, on and on and on. So I do always and have done my own marketing, and I do my own webpage. I have 21 million views on my YouTube channel, and I have hundreds of videos, and I do them all. I shoot them on a green screen. I'm talking, I'm narrating, then I go home and edit them, put them together, publish them, and I put that on my Facebook pages, my personal, my professional page, and do a little thing on Instagram. I'm not big on TikTok and some of these other things. My patients aren't looking at that. So, a shotgun approach is great. At any one time, I have TV ads, I have radio ads, I have had a billboard, I have signs on my office, I sponsor sports teams, women's events, charities, high school auctions, baseball teams. I'm giving them Botox for their auctions. I mean, marketing is 24/7. And the only time it's hard, marketing is fun because I get to tell, if I can find, I've always said, give me a group of 5 women, let me tell them what I do. And, they'll come to me. What do you have to be? Because anybody can market. So number one, you have to be able to back up. If you talk the talk, you have to be able to walk the walk. A lot of people that market, but they're not good surgeons, and they have unhappy patients, and they get bad reviews. You've got to be good at what you do. You have to be able to back it up. And, it's just a shotgun approach. You probably can't be everywhere, but some people are everywhere, and they usually have help. I do it all myself. And the people I have had try to help me, I don't know. They always said, look, I'm not going to do it the way you want it. As you're too much of, and they're right. They're probably correct. So marketing should be fun. It should be honest. It should not be cheesy. I always tell people I put 20% of my production for marketing. And there was a time when my cosmetic production was low and my marketing budget was low, but the other free stuff was free. Okay. And, as I got busier, I started doing more print ads, newspaper, radio, TV. And I had a billboard. And I took it down, and nobody ever said a word about it until it was down. And all these
right.
People. But nothing wrong with that.
Well, it's hard to track that. It's not the first place I would go nowadays because I prefer to track everything. But the billboard's one of those things that you can't put your finger on it, and then unless the patients are mentioning, "Oh, I saw you on the road."
Yeah, and marketing's like underwear. It's everybody has different types. So when you see somebody, let's just say that they are. Oh, just say to me, "Hey, how you doing, man? I love cosmetic facial surgery. I want to do your facelift. I do 3 a week, and I love going to work, and I love doing that. And if somebody tries to come off like that, and that's not their personality, it's going to be fake,
right?
Okay.
Right.
And one thing that I'm really against, even though I have some good friends that do it, man, this stuff of singing and rapping and dancing, in the operating room.
Yeah.
I want to tell you something. My staff, I was at a meeting and they sent a video of them cleaning the operating room. So they all had mops and antiseptics, and they were cleaning everything thoroughly, but they were dancing and singing into the mops and everything. And I made them pull it down because to me, the operating room is like church. It's reverent. That's not a place to screw around. And I don't think patients want to see that. Somebody that's 18 or 22 and somebody's, rapping in the operating room and there's somebody's bare butt sticking up in the background. Well, they may think that's cool, but I can guarantee you, most patients, they don't want to be in that operating room. And so you always have to be tasteful and respectful of what you're doing.
It depends, because some of those do very, very well with that, but that's their demographic.
That's
And
their demographic.
it's also the demographic that they're choosing it could be a different social economic demographic than you're looking for oftentimes. So you just have to know yourself, know yourself and how far you're willing to go. But then you have to be responsible for who you attract to you, because that attracts a certain patient. Do you want that patient, or would you prefer somebody else more serious?
Right. And then the other thing is, so right now, there's such a generic branding and marketing on all those formats that I've mentioned that it's almost all the same. The dancing doctor, the singing doctor, the rapping doctor. And the whole key to marketing is to differentiate yourself,
right.
to be different than everybody. And right now it's just a race to who can get the most dancing videos up or whatever. And, I think you do better if you tell people why you're not like everybody else and why you're different. But so a couple things about marketing: it has to be sincere. You have to be able to back it up. It's nonstop. In the old days, you bought your referring doctors or whatever, had a party or a Christmas ham or something, and that was your marketing. Marketing's 24/7, because if it's not good marketing, then it's bad marketing. Wherever you go, you're marketing. You go to a restaurant, you're rude to a waitress, listen, one of the guys in my hometown that inspired me, I went and watched them do facial surgery. He said, always tip big in your hometown, be the biggest tipper. People remember that, and if you don't, they're going to say, oh, that guy makes all that money. And but so my point is, you're always marketing. And, when I started practice, there's a river that goes through Richmond, the James River. I would only see people on one side of the river because Richmond, Virginia is this old stodgy blue blood thing, and people, they cross the river. Then I started seeing people from all over the city. Then as my practice got bigger around the state, and then I have an international practice now. 40% of my patients are from out of town. And, this is just the fruits of my labor. I don't care who you are. Some things, just doing the right thing at the right time, being in the right place at the right time. There's luck in all of us and everything we do, but so much marketing just has to do with the patient. You can dance and rap and do everything you want, but when you're face to face with a patient, the first thing I do when they come in, I walk in, I shake their hand, or now give it fist bumps, right? And I say, hi, I'm Joe.
Yep.
And I never wear, this is the dressiest I ever get right here, scrubs, right? I threw all my ties away years ago. And, some doctors like white coats and ties. I'm not that guy, okay? First thing I do is I ask the patient something about themselves. So what do you do? And sometimes they're so taken back because so many doctors are just, okay, today we're talking about this. And I want, tell me about your family or your job or whatever. And I'm so excited about what I do. I want to be telling them, and, I want to hear what they're excited about. And if they can't tell me, that may be a red flag. You can market all you want, and it's important, and it's really important now because people look at you, they look at your reviews, they look at your online presence. And I have friends that they're not on any social platforms, and they do well. They have just a boutique practice that, I have people that never check their review ever. And I always tell people, I check mine, but I'm always afraid in case there's a bad one, which everybody will get once in a while. There's no single recipe for success. It comes in so many ways, shapes, and forms, and it's a little bit different for everybody. I know that there's probably doctors out there that say, Joe's a nice guy, but he's always bouncing around and, whatever. And I'm not for everybody. They're not for everybody. You got to find that happy medium. And when a patient comes in, I say, Joe, I'm Joe. And they say, well, I'm Mrs. Smith. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna put the brakes on here. I gotta tone myself down and sit a little bit more still. And they're more conservative, and I need to be a little bit more conservative, right? I don't want to walk out.
You're fine just the way you are. I'll tell you what you're doing differently than anybody I've ever seen. The before and after photos. How many before and after photos do you have on your website?
I have 10,000 pictures on my website. And my wife, for decades, let me tell you this, every before and after photo is made in my spare time. And I've done every single one.
Do you ever sleep?
I sleep, but that's why I love I get so much done on airplanes. I know you do
Oh, for
too.
sure.
Nobody's bothering you. Your phone's
Love
not
that.
ringing.
Mhm.
And I've made those before and after pictures. And, when I had 100, she said, how many do you need? When I had 500, how many? When I had several thousand, I'll tell you what, people come to me and they say, well, you know what? There's this other guy. God, he's supposed to be the deal. Everybody talks about him and everything, but he's got 9 before and after pictures.
Yep.
And he said, well, his patients won't let him use their pictures. Come on,
I need to interject here because I get at least that complaint weekly. I say, where are all your photos? And they say, oh, my patients won't agree.
Yeah.
And how was Dr. Joe Niamtu able to get 10,000 people to approve photos?
Yeah. So it's probably not 10,000 people because I might have 4 views on one, but it's thousands of people.
Well, what's the secret? How are you getting them to say yes or no?
Well, let me tell you this. If I could use everybody's pictures, I'd have 20,000.
Right.
So here's the deal. You can never use somebody's picture without telling them, or you are a lottery ticket. All right. And a lot of people got in trouble for that. I ask people, I say, gosh, I'm so happy that this worked out this way. I'm so excited. I think you look great. Would you let me use any before and after pictures? Mm-hmm. And some people will say, I'd say a fourth of the people say, use whatever you want. I'm so proud of what you did. Some will say, and then I'll say, well, and I'll pull out a picture where the top of the face is hidden. And I'll say, well, what about if I just use the bottom of your hair? And 90% of those people will say, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then there are some people that they look at you like your hair's on fire. If I had hair, like, are you kidding me? Use my picture. No, you can't ever use my picture. So to answer your question, how do you get to use people's pictures? You ask them.
Yeah. You ask them.
I ask them. I'm the only doctor that takes all their before and after pictures. None of my staff take every one. And as I'm taking a picture, I'll say, look, I said, your profile looks like you're 30. Mm-hmm. And right after I take those pictures and say, can I use any of your pictures? And I say, I'll email them to you and you let me know. And then I have them sign whatever. Yes, I can use them, or I can use them if I crop them, or I can't use them at all. Mm-hmm. So you just have to ask your patients. Listen, most doctors are just too lazy. It takes me a good 25 minutes to put together a before and after series for a facelift. And all of that, 100% of it's in my spare time. I do it at night. I do it between cases. I do it on airplanes. But that is paid off. That I'll tell you what that's like. That's like putting money in the bank when you're young and you have exponential growth, interest, compounding interest. So, yeah, do
it's
that.
Marketing aspect that keeps giving back. It's like a cash cow. And it's the one thing that you don't get the advantage right that second. You don't get the point of why am I going to waste my time doing this unless you do it and you reap the benefits of it. That's the best marketing you could ever ask for, is to have happy patients showing off their great results.
And you have to have standardized pictures. I see so many terrible pictures. The oldest trick in the book, you take the before picture without a flash, so it's all shadowy and goofy. Then you take the after picture with a flash. Some people, the head's small, the head's big. I have standardized pictures, and my patients know that. And photography in cosmetic surgery is everything.
Yeah.
And pictures and videos. If I had to get rid of everything else, all the things we talked about, marketing, the only thing I would keep is my before and after pictures. And you know what? People steal them. I see them all over the place. I'm in a lecture. I'm in a lecture. Well, yeah, and that's then if you have any sense at all, you can Photoshop a watermark. Yeah. But I'm in a lecture and I see one of my facelift patients, and somebody's saying it's their thread lift patient.
Wow.
And so anyhow.
Yeah. But you know what? There's another caveat to that. They wouldn't be saying yes unless they liked you. So this started way before you asked for the photos. It started when you said, "Hi, I'm Joe,"
Yeah.
Or when the receptionist said, "Good afternoon, welcome to our practice." It all goes hand in hand. And do you think a lot of surgeons get that it's the whole continual patient experience from beginning to end?
I think, look, most of my friends that I'm really close with, you go to a meeting and you can't wait to see them, and you vacation with your wife and their wife and that sort of thing. They're all fulfilled. They're all doing, I don't want to say what I'm doing, but they're doing what they're doing to be successful. But there's a lot of just grumpy, unhappy doctors. I know friends that wait for two things. They wait for Friday, they wait for retirement. And
Oh,
that's no way to go through life, you know? Some people don't get it. Some people don't want to get it. They just want to go to work.
yeah.
And they're just going to go to work. They're going to keep going through staff. They're going to repeat the same mistakes. They're maybe busy enough just because they're in northern North Dakota or something. Nobody else is there, whatever. So,
All right, then we have to wrap this up soon.
yeah.
Let's talk about mindset because yours is so incredible. You have that growth mindset versus that fixed mindset. I mean, you see the opportunity in
Yeah, what you be
everything.
able to do. Wait a minute, come here. I want to show you one of the big reasons for my
Oh,
success.
hi, how are you? We were
Right.
just going to talk about you because I
You met
wanted to
April.
talk about
You met
mindset
April
and what
before.
drives you.
And
And
when we close this, we're going to talk a little bit about why she's such a super mom. But another thing about marketing, is having you can't market by yourself. You need other people. And the more you're involved, the more stuff you do by yourself, the more you take away from that person in their time. So they have to be incredibly on board with what you're doing.
So can we just talk a little bit about what drives you? And you're very into the charitable organizations, but also you have special needs children that you're doing God's work on that one. I commend you. I admire you from afar. Is there anything you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Well, the story is, I didn't get married till I was 47, right? It took me half century to find the girl of my dreams. And of course, every father, I wanted to have a son. I wanted to maybe have them take over my business someday, throw a football, teach them how to hunt and fish. And my first son was born with severe cerebral palsy, and the doctor said he would never walk or talk, would be tube fed and be in diapers. And, it's an incredible setback. I can't even describe it. And the biggest challenge for a special needs parent is if something would happen to you, who would take care of that helpless child? So we went through high risk neonatology, and I wanted to have a second child to be the guardian for Joey, my son. And, they said they did all these tests and everything. They said having this happen again would be like winning the lottery twice. And we had the same thing happen. So my other son, Evan, Joey's 21, Evan 19, same thing. So yeah, it was a beat down. I can't describe. I mean, I don't know how I made it through those first years. One of the reasons was that my wife is so incredible and sees such the positive aspect here and takes such great care of these guys. They've had over 30 operations combined. When other parents were going to soccer games and school plays and first dates, we were in emergency rooms and doctors' offices and ICUs. And but we go to, well, I'm very active. You mentioned a lot of the charity stuff I used to do. Most of my stuff now is guided at children, special needs children, and which it has been before I had special needs children anyhow. But we go to groups and events, and I see situations where there's people that have it worse than we have it. There are single moms that are barely making it. They live on the second floor and they don't have a van, handicap van. So I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that just gutted me, But, it's life, and life's temporary, and you have to find the joy that you can. So my children, I'll never hear the word daddy. They can't walk or talk, but they smile. We watch TV together. I'll play my guitar and make them laugh. And to me, that's the touchdown. That's the soccer goal. My wife is just so amazing at taking care of them. And I don't think she knows their special needs. She dresses them up on Halloween and everything else.
Well, they're always smiling in photos. Like they seem super happy.
Yeah. And, so there's a big pearl here is that life's not easy, and we're all going to have challenges. And there's some people that have worse challenges than I do. And, is that going to define you, or is being able to deal with that and move on going to define you? That's what you have to decide.
Well, I don't even know what to say because I can't imagine. I can't imagine. I mean, some people have challenges. That was a major, major challenge that you have somehow turned into, the lemonade from the lemons, or however that saying goes. But I just want you to know, people admire you from afar. And they just don't know what to say to you, but it's amazing what you've done with what you've been given. Congratulations.
Well, I'm just one person doing what they love, trying to do it well, and trying to make the best out of the cards that they're dealt. And that's the advice that I give to everybody. So,
well,
I think you're the same. I think we have a lot of the same aspirations and successes, and being able to enjoy it, and the true love of teaching, of telling other people, good things, and trying to help them. And that's what you do. That's why you're famous. That's how we met each other way back when.
I wish I were as famous as you are. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid to give people your contact information, because I don't want everyone to be bugging you.
Listen,
if you did want to get to know you better, how would they reach out?
My website is lovethatface.com, and my email is niamtu@niamtu.com. And it's been great sharing this time with you. And I'm sure we'll see each other soon in person, now that there are in-person meetings.
Hey, we didn't play the guitar.
What am I going to play? This guitar is not even in tune.
That'll be darling. I've never had a doctor playing a guitar.
Catherine asked me about my desire, how I hire, how I fire. Told her a little bit about my life. I just made up this song, so I don't think the words are wrong. Peace and love, you have happy life.
Do you always just ad lib as you go?
Yeah, pretty much in life.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Enjoyed it. Peace out.
Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you got a lot out of that. Would you please do me a favor and head over to Beauty and the Biz? And if you haven't subscribed yet or give us a review, please do. And if you've got any questions or feedback for me, please leave them at my website at catherinemaley.com. Be sure to share this with your colleagues as well as your staff. And then if you need anything, you can always Instagram, DM me at Catherine Maley MBA. Thanks so much. We'll talk again soon.